Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Smart Home Insider. I am so excited. It's been an amazing week. Leading into this recording, I was in New York for all of the Apple experience that was going on. So we had a ton of new products launch. And then now I'm here sitting recording the podcast with a brand new guest. Joining me this week, I have Jason Zuppke. I was so concerned with getting your last name pronounced correctly, which Zuppke, I can do it. And I call you Jason. Jacob Zuppke, who is the CEO of Whisker, the company that makes all the litter robots. I'm just going to go ahead and sit this one out. If you want to go ahead and just handle the podcast for me this week, Jacob, that would be great.
I can try.
Perfect. You got the notes. I'm going to just take a back seat because we're off to a rocky start here. But thank you, Jacob, for hanging out today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the podcast today.
Yeah, so we should, everyone knows the kind of the usual here. We're going to cover the news for the week, and then we're going to get into an interview talking a little bit about Whisker, and then talking about where pet products fit in the smart home, which I feel like is something that does not get covered enough kind of in that mainstream space. So it's going to be a great conversation. Before that, we should talk about the news, just to give everybody a quick recap of everything that Apple announced last week. There's a new iPhone 17e that has been announced. Has a A19 chip, double the base storage, finally added MagSafe, next-gen portrait mode so you can edit after the fact, and Ceramic Shield 2 covering the display. We get the new iPad Air with the M4 chip, Wi-Fi 7. Finally, we added Thread to the iPad Air there, and 8 going to 12 gigs of memory. There's the new Studio Display XDR. High-end one is replacing the Pro Display XDR in Apple's lineup. There's new M5 Pro and M5 Max MacBook Pros. There's the new M5 MacBook Air that also has double the base storage along with those Pro models. There's the MacBook Neo, right? That is the crazy cool one that I think everyone's going to be excited about on the low end of things, reaching a whole new audience for Apple. And then there's new accessories that came out, new watch bands, new cases, new crossbody strap colors. There was 26.3.1, which is a pretty minor update that seemingly just adds support for the studio displays and fixes some bugs. But that's it. It was a lot of stuff for Apple to kind of release in 1 week. Did any of that jump out at you, Jacob? Like anything that you're kind of eyeing from this slate of products?
The 17E, but selfishly, as a analog to what we're doing at Whisker, I think the E model for Apple has been an interesting one to watch for us and for me, thinking about as they have now taken, I believe it is the lead position in smartphone, and seeing what they've done in the E series, going from the SE to the 16E to the 17E, and watching that lower price point and then seeing other lower price point items come out. It's been very interesting for us to watch because we launched our Evo in the spirit of a kind of premium economy product line, getting into a premium product category or premium product brand, but at a more affordable price point. So I think that was really interesting to me to see it happen on multiple products.
How did you, not to get into the interview too early here, but how did you end up landing on Evo for your more affordable product? Because Apple has gone through, and how many names now? There was Air, I feel like used to be the low cost option, and then we went to SE as a low cost option. There is now just E for the phones as a low cost option, and now we have Neo on the MacBook line. So Apple has thrown out all these different names for various affordable entry level products. I'm kind of wishing they had where's our MacBook Ultra? Where is our higher, why aren't they going in the opposite direction a little bit with a more pro version of some of their hardware? But how do you end up landing on Evo, with all the different kind of names that are out there?
So when you name a program, internal program, we've been getting better at it and how we kind of code name a program. And this one was just called LRE. And, I think the E kind of got stuck in our heads, but really for us, it was about an evolution, and it was trying to come out with something that could be done at a more affordable price point, but leveraging the core of what Litter Robot, has become, and, kind of removing some of the frills, the cool extra features that, as a consumer, I think that we've grown to really love, but to do it at a more affordable price point. So for us, it was about evolution, and that's kind of where the name Evo came from.
Nice. It's a little bit of that inside baseball, but I find like the naming process very curious, especially with as much variation as Apple has put into this recently. Well, outside of Apple's like event that they had, or sorry, experience, it wasn't an event. We had a little bit of news from Apple that was not great. Now, of course, none of this is official. Apple didn't say anything, but leaker Kasutami over on Twitter, they're kind of known for showing a lot of like development processes and like EVT products and like things from Apple's dev cycles that have gotten leaked one way or another. But occasionally they also get some pretty good leaks in there that have come true. Like we have heard from them about Fine Woven before Fine Woven was a thing. They gave us the first look at that Apple Watch band. They also said that the graphene layer for cooling was coming to the iPhone 16 series, which it did. And they were also the one, this still hasn't panned out yet, but they have talked a lot about Apple's smart home stuff. They've talked about like the doorbell that has, not materialized, as well as internal cameras that Apple is working on, like home cameras. But now they are saying that whether this is a good or bad news, I don't know. But they said, this is like quote from their Twitter, autumn, home, integrated with pad now coming. Then they quote tweeted that and said clearance HomePad at fall. So I guess the takeaway here is that Apple's smart home display, smart home hub, whatever this thing is going to be called, HomePad, I don't know, but it sounds like it's now been pushed to fall because this was heavily rumored for here in the spring. And Apple just launched all these things, none of that stuff. This could coincide with the fact that the next generation version of Apple's digital assistant has been delayed to 26.5, if not 27, which would still be on track for what Apple said of shipping in calendar year 2026. So Apple's not like late or anything beyond what they've already kind of promised us. But it's just a bummer. Like anyone could listen into this episode right now, Jacob, and this could be taken anytime in the last 2 years. Like me just saying, oh, Apple's smart home hub has been delayed. That I have said that so many times on this podcast. It's no longer means anything to have this thing delayed. Have you been following like this news cycle for this thing like very closely at all? I don't know how much smart home stuff you have in your house beside the smart pet products, but this is something that we followed here like so closely, and just to have it delayed yet again kind of is such kind of like a gut punch again.
I know for me in our home, I would say we definitely have a lot of smart home products. I right now haven't been overly loyal to one kind of brand, only for the reason, and as a Apple geek and as somebody who I would say tries to buy the same family of brand, because I do appreciate brand. I bought a house 2 years ago or so, and it was completely outfitted with Ring. And I had bought prior a lot of Google products, and so it kind of jumps between. And so my house right now is like a mishmash. I think that if Apple was able to deliver on a lot of the products that I would like to have in my home, I would probably be one of the people to switch very quickly to Apple. So, am I following it closely? No. Am I probably going to be a very fast consumer? Yes.
I can see that. I feel like a lot of people have jumped in with like a lot of the Amazon smart displays and the Google Nest, smart displays. As soon as Apple offers something in that space, I think there's going to be quite a few people that are like you, and then that's going to be an easy move to other products that aren't Ring or Google related ones. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully this is the last delay. We got to be on the end game here. And now that Apple has announced like the Gemini integration for helping with its next gen assistant, it seems like we're right there. This is hopefully the last delay. Hopefully the next piece of news is like just more concrete, like production is going and these are all sitting in a warehouse somewhere ready to go. Like I hope those are the next updates that we get to talk about here. Revisiting a product that we reviewed on the podcast a little bit ago, the Aqara U400. It is expanding support to Samsung. So with the new update, Galaxy phones are able to use Samsung Wallet via SmartThings and NFC to unlock the U400. Now to be clear, it's two things. It is NFC, The UWB ultra wideband does not work yet with the Galaxy phones, and on top of that, it is not a Lero. This is actually like native integration with SmartThings, not a Lero. So the lock is still a Lero ready, finishing certification, and it'll be coming to any UWB phone via a Lero in Q2 of this year, is what Aqara is saying. But still, really great to see this stuff expanding, because I want to be able to share that digital key with my friends, with neighbors, the couple people I have in my life that don't have an iPhone, or just be able to share keys easier in general. And I think Aliro is helping us get there. But this is a good update to the Aqara U400. Jacob, do you have a smart lock on your door? Does Google have? I mean, they have a partnership with the Yale.
So I unfortunately don't. I did in my last two homes, and in the home that I'm in today, it was a old school door, which I did not realize how hard it would be to update the smart locks because I just ordered some, went to go do it, and realized that I believe it's a European lock type that I'm blanking on the name of it, but the metal rod inside of it is very, very long, and the word is escaping me right now, but it's not easy to upgrade. So I did, in fact, return my recent smart locks, and I am back to a old school system.
Sounds like you
Smart
need a new
other
door.
things, not doors.
Sounds like you just need a new door. Just replace the door at that point. It's
It's a
easier.
pretty cool
It sounds
door.
easier. It sounds like you need to be one of the early adopters of the, oh shoot, now I'm blanking on the brand name, the one that Jason Johnson founded after he left
Um,
Dorma, right?
yes, Doma.
Doma, yes, Doma, yeah, because they do have that security lock that goes all the way top to bottom on the door, which is like newer, but that'll be built in, and that's going to be all Matter friendly. So there you go. There's your new door. Just replace it with one of those. They're coming out this year. You're fine.
I just got to talk to him about it in November at an event in Vegas, and it was the first time I've actually met him in person. And having followed him for a long time, it was a cool opportunity to talk to him about what they were doing because they were literally launching, I think, a week and a half or 2 weeks after I ran into him. So I kind of got not a look under the hood, but I got a voice under the hood.
Nice. I know. I'm so excited. Those things look insane. I'm excited to see what they're at, like where price points are going to land and how kind of like the final specs on where they're going to end up. But they look crazy cool.
I think the cool part of it for me is, having just bought what is a newer-ish house and having it come kind of fully smart home ready, and then watching how smart home is starting to be integrated or more readily prepped for a home. I think that they're at a unique kind of intersection of long-term thinking of this is what the home of the future looks like, and then people, early adopters that are willing to go and adopt that right now before they're building a new home.
I think they hit a really good spot with it. And like the idea of not just trying to launch the product themselves, but instead partnering with like every major door maker to kind of integrate it into their product lines was a really smart move. So we'll see how this kind of takes off. It also seems like it's great to like pitch directly to consumers who may be a little more handy, want to try it themselves, as well as actual installers and new builds and everything like that. So I'm very curious. And I'm like, I kind of want to try it, but also I test smart locks all the time. And what am I going to do if I replace my front door with a fancy smart door? Because I can't replace the door lock on that thing, every week. So we'll have to see how that, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, we do have some more good news out of another company that we talk about frequently on this show, Sonos. Yeah, Sonos has two new speakers that could be launching imminently, like from the time that everyone listens to the podcast, like within the next day or so. So they aren't seeming to do any like massive product launch as they have in the past, but they have two new speakers that are rumored: the Play and the Era 100 SL. Now, the more boring one is the Era 100 SL. So that's their Era 100 that they have now, but they're going to take out the microphone, right? Just like the old SLs that they had before. And funny enough, that was how they got the SL or the Sonoses into the Apple Store, because Apple would not put them in there with the Amazon, assistant kind of baked into it. So they made the version without the speaker, without the microphone, and they were able to sell those in Apple stores before like HomePod and everything took off. So now they are doing the same thing, slightly cheaper price point. 189 is rumored, and it'll have like no Sonos assistant, no Amazon assistant, anything like that baked in. So a little bit cheaper, and for people like in the Apple ecosystem who may not want those other those other smart speakers going on and kind of competing with Apple's assistant in the home, you can get it at the cheaper price point. So that'll be nice. The one I'm more excited about though, Jacob, is this Play. So this looks like it's going to be in between the Roam, the tiny portable one, and then the Move 2, the bigger one. But it's going to be a portable speaker, 24-hour battery life, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, auto True Play tuning built in, come in black and white colors for $299. It'll obviously be smaller than the Move 2 is, but the rumor that I saw with this leak was that this thing could go up for pre-order on March 10th, very, very soon. I don't know if you've used many like Sonos speakers, but I love them. The Move especially because it has AirPlay. Like it's Wi-Fi and AirPlay. So I just take that thing with me everywhere. It's so massive. I can just take it outside while I'm like doing woodworking or working in the yard, haul that thing around, use Wi-Fi, and then all of a sudden like I get too far back into the yard, I swap it over to Bluetooth mode, and then I just stream it from my phone that way. But the Move is such an amazing speaker. Like there's very, very few portable AirPlay speakers that work so seamlessly. So to have like kind of like a smaller one at a more affordable price point, I think is going to be a good thing, but it's going to have more bass in it than the Roam will, which is pretty tiny.
From our household, my wife is the greater appreciation for music and discounts the fact that I still use Pandora, and the where she just can't believe it. And
I
by the
didn't
way,
know anyone did, to
the
be honest.
free
Like I haven't heard
version
anyone
too.
say it. The free version with
Oh
all
yeah,
of
I
the
like the
ads.
ads.
I mean,
The
usually I gotta mock some people a little bit for listening to like Spotify, but now like there's at least a use case for Spotify. Like I understand it. I like their QR code things to go to playlists. Like they've done some cool things at Spotify, but man, I've never heard anyone make a case for still listening to Pandora. I,
was a 14-year account. I think I started it in 2008 based on the email address that I had on it. So it's pretty tailored to what I like. And I'm sure that a modern day AI could pick up what I like pretty quickly. But, sometimes you just fall into old habits. And for me, that one happens to be Pandora. So I would say while we do have Sonos in our house, my wife is more of an avid user than I am. I could put it on my speakerphone on my iPhone and be happy.
that is wild. I seriously, I have not met anyone I can't even tell you the last time I met someone who was still using Pandora. Obviously, everyone used it a decade ago, but not anything. You were a unicorn.
I'm
You were a
living that
unicorn.
I'm living the glory still.
I would have been happier if you were using an iPod Classic. Like if you're like, nah, I still support my iPod Classic. I still sync my music over. I get them from CDs and put them on an iPod, and we're cool. But man, Pandora.
Had to
Okay,
throw a curveball in.
I won't taunt you anymore. We did have some news coming out of Wi-Fi area. There is a new Wi-Fi vulnerability that is running around out there. It is called Air Snitch, and it basically is able to bypass the Wi-Fi encryption. They're able to do a man-in-the-middle attack to view all traffic going through a router. Now, there's a lot of questions in here. I can put the whole article for anyone who wants to kind of dig into it, but there's a lot to kind of be concerned about. And like the little bit of good news here is that it seems, from my understanding, is they must be on the same network. They must be on the network somehow to gain access. So they have to have like your SSID and your network password. But once you have that, they're able to see all the traffic going through and kind of bypass any of the encryption that is on your router, that is going through your router. So it's kind of scary. So here's like the quote I pulled from the article. Even when HTTPS is in place, an attacker can still intercept domain lookup traffic and use DNS cache poisoning to corrupt tables stored by the target's operating system. The air snitch man-in-the-middle attack also puts the attacker in the position to wage attacks against vulnerabilities that may not be patched. Attackers can also see the external IP addresses hosting web pages being visited and often correlate them with the precise URL. So a little bit terrifying there, but just make sure everybody's got good like Wi-Fi passwords, right? That's like general good advice in general. Don't make it easily guessable when stuff like this is going on out there. But I will put the full link if you guys want to like dig into all like the technical details about it, because it's very detailed on how they were able to pull this off and the researchers and all that stuff. But it doesn't even seem like this is like easily patchable, which is always concerning as well. Let's talk about IKEA. I just did the full review last week, or talked about the full review for all of IKEA's new wares that they have out. And a couple people were saying, what about the light bulbs? They're not available yet in the US. Well, they are now. So all of the new, I can't even think of the name, Kajplatz, those bulbs that IKEA has launched, they're launching in the US. They're all available now. I have one, two, three, four, five, six, like seven of them here listed that I'll put in the show notes. But there's all different versions, so you can get full color at like 1100 lumens. There's ones that are just white spectrum that do up to 1600 lumens that are even brighter. There's E26 that are white spectrums, 450 lumens with adaptive lighting. Those are literally $6 a piece, or $10 with the remote. There's the E12 full color, 800 lumens, the E12 white spectrum ones. Those are like $8 a piece. There's the filament candelabras and the filament globes that can go up to $15 for those big globe ones that have a nice warm light, but they do support adaptive lighting too. So some really great ones. All those are linked there in the show notes for you all. I still can't promise that you guys are going to have perfect performance on these, because we never got full answers as to what is going on. I can still tell you my stuff is working great. I have not had any other issues with anything, but it definitely seems like there's problems out there. The reviews on them, are like 2.5 stars, because some people are having perfect experiences, others are having terrible experiences. But I don't know. I mean, the price points of $5.99 for those cheapest white bulbs, I think they're still worth trying out if you've got an IKEA nearby and they're easy enough to return if you have some bad luck with them. Jacob, what do you think about these? I mean, price point for smart home stuff, this is crazy.
It's very inexpensive. I went through, I'm just thinking back to when I started with all the smart light bulbs and the cost of them as compared to this, and it's quite a departure from what I originally paid. Something that I would say we haven't been thinking too much about recently in our home, but just to hear where we are pricing wise is incredible to see the progress that the category is making.
I mean, there's got to be a huge wiggle room there. Obviously, we're still getting Hue bulbs at $60 a pop, but Hue is basically goated in the space. It's just really great to see these lower price points, because it's going to hopefully lead to two things. One, innovation to set apart the higher end bulbs, which I think Hue is doing. I mean, turning them into motion sensors and all that kind of stuff, like they're doing great. But I think we're going to see a bunch of other features, and then hopefully bringing down other price points as well to help compete with this kind of stuff. But first, IKEA is going to need to fix the stability issues and the responses and the pairing, because if they don't work, there's no point in it. But if anyone else tries them out, make sure you guys let me know, because I'm curious at what everybody else's experiences are. Had a lot of feedback on the video of the range. Some people bought like a ton, and some things worked, some things didn't. It's such a weird hit or miss thing, but it seems like IKEA is on top of it. I just hope to have like kind of like an official "we fixed it" answer soon enough, but I'll keep everybody updated. Okay, let's take a break and thank the sponsor for the episode, and we're going to get back to talking about Whisker. So this week's sponsor is, you guys all know them, it is Shopify. They are powering some of the best businesses that are out there. I talk about like so many of them on the show, and since last week, yes, I bought something. I was buying stuff from Snazzy Lab, and I got my updates. So easy for him to host the whole website just with Shopify, make a whole store within like an afternoon. And Snazzy Lab's like Copland brand has been like crushing it with some really cool Apple wares. He made his own version of like the Apple polishing cloth, and now he has a new desk mat with like Apple logos on there that are really cool. Not the point. I bought his cleaning cloth because I wanted to see how it compared to Apple's one, and he made it in like a larger size. And when I'm doing all these videos, I got to clean things. But yeah, I could go right on there, and I clicked Apple Pay, but they also had Shop Pay, all the other options. immediately finished that checkout process. As soon as I made the purchase, it kicked that sale over to the shop app where I could track everything. And then I've been getting all the little updates on my phone for the last several days. I was thinking, like, oh, your order has shipped. Oh, your order is on the way. Your order is out for delivery. I just love being able to see all of that because I use tracking apps. I use Parcel or Delivered and all that. But then you have to actually move your things over or integrate with your email. It's even cooler when you don't have to do any of that and it can integrate into the shop app or into Apple Wallet, which is even cooler because there's so few that even do that. So that whole order tracking process is so seamless and easy. But that's just one of the many things that makes Shopify great. It's so amazing because it can scale with you. You can start off really tiny, use Shopify, get that website up and going without having any really experience of making a website or selling things online. They'll walk you through making the website, adding everything, figuring out tax and shipping information. Then you scale up, you start adding plugins, delivery, insurance, and whatever else you need to make your website, your brand, your business excel. They have AI tools that can help take you to the next level, like editing your product images, coming up with copy, and all sorts of things like that. And they have one of the best converting checkouts out there. I mean, of course, we talked about Shop Pay and Apple Pay, Google Pay, all of that stuff. They just make it easy. They make it easy for consumers. They make it easy for the brands, and it grows with you. If you have not tried it already, I definitely encourage you to check it out. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/homekit. Go to shopify.com/homekit. That's shopify.com/homekit. Okay, Jacob, let's talk about Whisker and smart pet products, the smart home as a whole. Before we do, tell me a little bit about you. How do you get to Whisker? How did you end up becoming CEO here and what's your kind of background? And then let's talk about the new litter robot line that has recently launched.
Cool. Well, thank you again for having me. And my journey started as a marketer. I would still call myself a marketer, but owned a small digital marketing agency out of college. Did that for a few years, learned quite a bit. I got to scale up an agency, start building a team, and learned quite a bit. And after about 3.5 years, I was able to take a buyout from my former business partner and go to the dark side, the brand side. I realized that my interest, as much as I enjoyed building an agency, really my interest was getting inside the business and understanding everything else that happened beyond just marketing. And having to fall into this opportunity where somebody that I knew called me up, was looking for some help in marketing, and it was right after I had decided to move on, and happened to kind of be like good timing. So I got to come in, and the founder and I just hit it off immediately. At the time, I had never lived with cats before, and I was learning so much about the category, the space, and really my first quote unquote job, because I was a founder right out of college and had founded several businesses through college as well. And so I was learning a lot in the moment. And I think what that did for me, though, is it made me super curious because there was already this machine that was built that was building physical products, that was a marketing machine, that had a brand, and it had all these really good foundational elements. And really what it needed was some horsepower behind the one area, which was marketing. And so I got to come in 2015 to help launch the Gen 3 model of the litter robot, which Gen 2 looked like R2-D2 or Kenny from South Park, and LR3 was like this cool, it got the name of Death Star and Cement Mixer and Spaceship, and it just had this really cool industrial design that was really about great function wrapped in what was a cool form at the time. And I had the opportunity to rebrand the business and get ready for the launch. And so in 2015, I launched, before influencer was a word, and I think I called them social celebrities at the time, all these famous cats on Instagram. And I got to line up 25 of them for December 1st on our launch date, all to share it at the same time. And December 1st hits, and we just took off. Our website traffic previously was like 36,000 visitors in a month that we had ever had. We had 30,000 something visitors that day. And that month we ended up getting up to almost 300,000 visitors. We had hit this really key company milestone revenue wise. And going into 2016, a 15-year-old business grew by 80%. And so my marketing role became kind of marketing and biz dev and a couple other areas. And then over the years to come, we kept growing at a very rapid rate. And my role evolved and evolved and evolved, and took on a little bit more responsibility at each step. And then I missed a bonus in 2017 because we could not produce at the rate that we sold. So I learned operations so that I could help us produce at a greater volume, and became a semi-operator and got to expand our plant thereafter, build out a much larger team, then build out our engineering org. So the fast version of the story is I joined it as employee 26, and now we have, I think, 675 people on the team.
Whoa, that is bigger than I thought it would be. That's impressive. Well, you guys have been doing crazy stuff. I have seen them for ages, and like they're just like the go-to in the space when you talk about litter boxes, like smart litter boxes and everything. And yeah, recently you guys launched the new litter robot, like the 5 Pro, and the Evo, right? Those are like the three that you launched recently. I have been testing the 5 Pro. It is here off screen. And it's been working really well, and you guys have done some cool stuff with it. So you want to do like the high level of what's new with the three models and how you kind of point people towards certain ones?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. I would say the people like yourself who are very technically savvy, who want the latest and greatest in tech, I think the 5 Pro is great. The value of the 5 Pro is that it does have two integrated cameras. So what we saw was a lot of people started to put a camera in everybody lives in a different style of home, but if you have a cat room, which a lot of people have, if you have a cat or a cat area, a lot of people were putting cameras in there. And they really wanted two things out of it: to see the cat in the room, and then I think secondly, which has not previously been available, is to see right inside the litter box, to where you can track it in real time. And with the litter robot, kind of out of sight, out of mind is one of the values of having an automatic litter box. But with the Whisker app, it's out of sight, still top of mind when it needs to be, when it needs to be attended to. But over the last few years with the Whisker app in general, one of the really cool things about it is that we've had tons of stories of the Whisker app helping to uncover life-changing moments for the cat. So when your cat gets a UTI, oftentimes with the regular litter box, you cannot see that because they're going in, they're going out, they're going in, they're going out. If it's in your basement or in a room that you're not often in, you're not visibly seeing them do that. And then with the litter robot, you've always been able to track it since we launched the Whisker app back in 2017, and be able to track usage. Well, with Litter Robot 5 Pro, we wanted to take a really big leap forward in our ability to understand longitudinal health for the cat. And so seeing what's happening in the litter box, we're starting to learn and understand what different trends are of a cat using the litter robot. So the duration of a visit, how long they're in there, how often they go. Just like humans, cats have patterns, understanding the patterns of that, and now visualizing that right in the app, and then over time being able to understand that for you. So the two integrated cameras, I think, were a really big leap for us. We also have our cat face ID, which is pretty cool. And I know in my house, I have two brown cats. So our North Star is two black cats at night. And we are in the process of doing that. So we've got really great results from our cat face identification. We're continuing to make really great improvements on that. Another big platform change was waste ID, which is the ability to sniff out number one versus number two. It's using gas sensors and also an algorithm to understand which deposit your cat is making at what time. And then I think for me, as simple as this is, the exterior design of the product and the quality of our plastics is just a giant leap forward for the platform. The Litter Robot 5 and the Litter Robot 5 Pro both use a exterior ABS plastic, and it feels like a premium appliance. And my favorite part, as silly as it sounds, the bonnet that you lift to uncover the globe, when you shut it now, it kind of feels like a car door slam. Like it's just a really nice feel for the device. And it's really up leveled from everything that we've done before, but also from the category itself. To spend the money that we did on the exterior parts and to go with the finishes that we did, it's just that next level of appliance that we're really trying to elevate to.
It does seem, yeah, it does seem very polished. Like there are a lot of those little like nice elements to it. The one thing that I'm curious about, and you're literally one of the most ideal people to talk about this with, like pet category as a whole is really big, right? The amount that people spend on extra things for their pets is crazy, right? And we're starting to see more and more smart devices launching, whether it's litter boxes, whether it is feeders, waterers, all that kind of stuff. But they are so siloed into their own thing. How do you see pet products integrating into the smart home as a whole? And why do you feel that they are always kind of on their own? Like there's no reason that a pet product needs to like we'll talk about apps and like subscription things like that as like a separate thing, but just it just feels like they are completely segmented from the rest of the smart home. Like they're not even part of most conversations, even though they really are. Why do they feel like there's that big cavern between the smart home industry and smart home pet products?
So it's a great question. I'm going to answer it two different ways. The answer number one, why do I think it is? I think connected pet, I'm not going to call it new. I'll say it's newer. And I think that people are still trying to unpack what's important out of a connected pet product. And so I think that they're figuring that out internally at different companies, including Whisker, which is ultimately what does the consumer want out of our product? And for us, a lot of that is tracking the longitudinal data for the cat. And then the ability to have a kind of remote control to change settings on your robot. Now, the other side to that, why not, which would be our mindset is that if an automatic litter box works, you don't need to control it from Alexa or from another product, because for me to say, Alexa, cycle my litter robot, well, it's just an automatic litter box. It should be smart enough to cycle itself. And so that's kind of a fail safe. And like any devices, right, you can run into challenges if cats interrupted a ton and they put it into an error state. We have so many different safety backups in there, both with firmware and hardware, that can happen if your cat is trying to play with the device. And so the ability to have smart home overrides would in theory be a good thing. I think that for at least for Whisker, and I can only speak for ourselves, that's been one of those challenges where it's like, well, at what point do we want to have the device itself be so smart versus having a fun thing like Alexa cycle my litter robot, which really shouldn't be needed. We did build Alexa in to the last gen of the litter robot, and we never launched it because when we started to look through all the things that we had built, it didn't necessarily serve a purpose. Now, one thing that would be very interesting would be Alexa, which cat used it last, or smart home, A, B, or C, which cat used it last. And why haven't we done that? We've wanted to really deliver on our product first before we go and do smart home. And launching 3 new products, several new subsystems, new platform, new brand, bandwidth, for us at least, last year. I would say Matter and other platforms are on our roadmap. They are things that we are excited about as Whisker. It was just prioritization, at least today. And I'll pause there for a minute.
Okay, which makes sense. I mean, for you guys specifically in your product cycle, you did just have 3 new devices launch, which is it's a big undertaking in general. But it still doesn't kind of hit to me of like why it just seemed like in general the whole smart pet industry doesn't ever even like talk about the rest of the smart home. They're just like, it just seems like they're 2 different worlds, and I don't understand why that kind of always feels like it's the case.
So we integrated with IFT a number of years ago.
Hmm.
And when we saw the kinds of things that people were doing with their litter robot, I would say they weren't They weren't things that necessarily had to be integrated with the rest of the home. I think there are fun things like, um, I think one that I remember was like, a combination with a vacuum cleaner, and it was a Roomba, and it was like, when my litter robot cycles, send the Roomba over to clean up any litter that my cat may have tracked outside the litter box. It makes a ton of sense. I would say in general, when you're integrating with these other products, or maybe it is just another system like an after, um, another smart home platform, it's just another system to manage. And I know that's probably been our mindset, is that we're making so many firmware and software changes to continue improving the platform, that to be mindful of another, platform to manage right now. Our team was a lot smaller 2 years ago, and now we're about, call it 80 to 100 engineers, or in our engineering and product org. It just takes bandwidth. And for us, we were prioritizing our own products. We're one of the larger connected pet care companies, by people, and likely by revenue as well. And I would say, if we're facing those challenges and constraints, I would imagine other people are facing similar constraints. And that may be why smart home has fallen maybe secondary to their own product lineup. We're also trying to do more within our products right now that I want to get out to our consumers before I prioritize that. And I think if we deliver exceptional product, then some of those things can remain secondary. I think that as soon as we get to where our roadmap is very clear, that is on our roadmap, but it does follow internal. So I can only speak for us when I say it's secondary to making our products exceptional. And look, we've been around a long time and we still haven't done it yet. We've made exceptional products. We still haven't integrated fully with smart home. And I think that it is very clear on the why. We just have not done it yet.
It's definitely something I want, and I'm not just singling you guys out because like we see Pawport, they make amazing pet doors, both inside and outside doors. Like, why are those not smart locks within Matter? Like that seems like such a natural thing, which I think that they have promised, and yet there's nothing ever been delivered or really talked about more. Pet feeders, like you guys have a pet feeder. Why can I not say Apple Assistant feed the cat? Which I can do with my Aqara one, and that's only because Aqara is literally a smart home company that happens to make a pet feeder, not a smart pet company that integrates into smart home. Like they're the exception of the only ones I know that really does that. I'm sure there's more that especially that do maybe just Amazon, but yeah, I want to be able to tell Apple's Assistant, even if you were doing just Siri shortcuts, like that's super easy to integrate into products and be able to say you feed the cat, give that extra scoop of food or whatever because they're hungry or the dog stole it, whatever it happens to be. Water filters, I think those are super popular, right? There's a ton of those out there, and those run very similar to any water products that are already in the smart home space. You're looking at maybe a filter life duration on there, on and off control, and water level that need to be monitored, which are all kind of stuff that's out there that easily could be built out into that. And then we talked about litter boxes, but like for me, the couple times where I'm like, I mean, I wish this did that. Whenever I see like the low litter alert or the bin full, I see it, but I'm not right there, right? Like I was just in New York and I got the alert that the litter was low. Okay. Um, I can't do anything at this moment. And then maybe I'll get another alert again next time the cat does use it. But I get especially gone since then. I came home and I didn't realize, I literally came down the street like, oh, frick, I was supposed to fill that up. And I literally just dumped more litter in there. I'm like, man, I would really love to have a status light, a smart ball that turns red because my litter is full or the waste bin is full. Remind yourself, you dummy, to do that before you end up with a problem. Like that would be helpful. I love the idea of the vacuum, right? Vacuums are in Matter now, so the cat uses the litter box, wait 5 minutes to make sure the coast is clear, and then send out the vacuum to clean that room or that zone. All that super easy to do. And then even getting into the cameras, which is like a whole separate thing, but being able to expose the exterior facing camera into Matter as a extra security camera or a motion sensor in your home, if that's pointing into the room, why can't I use that as a motion sensor to trigger whatever else I want to trigger? Like there's so many different things you could do there that would add so much value, not just Whisker, but other pet products. I think there is so much space there, and I can't see any of them just caring enough to do it. And I really hope that that starts to change in the industry and we start seeing some of these integrations where things actually play nice together.
So, without revealing too much, our hardware upgrades make us very matter friendly. And I would say we were hyper intentional about our choice of electronics with, kind of doing a new set of subsystems. And so we are being super intentional about our roadmap now. And I would say growing up as a company, we grew up quickly. And now we took a beat to really think about what we want to do over the next several years with our sensor choices, our electronics choices, and our future ability to upgrade and to do easier firmware upgrades. So without revealing too much, I would say we have a really good plan to make sure that, little things like what you mentioned, which is the light in the room changing colors versus just a device notification, an app notification, or even a screen on the device, which we now have. But having something fun in your room, maybe it's a funny noise, given we're talking about cats pooping here. Maybe it's a funny noise or a funny color that you use with lights changing. There's a lot of opportunity, and we are starting to think about a lot of that.
Good. I also thought about like when the cat used the litter box. I mean, you guys could get real fancy because you guys can detect a 1 versus a 2, but turn on the air purifier. I know you guys have like a deodorizer built in, but being able to also kick on a fan or a deodorizer or a air purifier in the room just for extra backup would also be really handy, and all can get done, just via Matter. So I hope that's a thing. Have you guys, or did you guys join the CSA, or have you looked at just becoming members even if you're not implementing anything, yet? Have you looked at joining or not?
We have, and I would say our hardware roadmap, working back from what we chose to use in these products, these are all intentional choices that we're making to make sure that as we look to our future, that we are not just leading in our products, but leading in our, I'll call it how we lead with respect to being in the broader tech community. And we have not been historically, outside of my involvement in conferences and podcasts, but we have not been part of any organization. It's something that we're really thinking more intentionally about now.
Okay. Okay. Um, you also have like a new subscription, right? I don't even know if this is new or not new, but I want to. This is always a weird thing, and it's true in the smart home space in general. And there's a lot of different approaches here, but it's like one of those things where we want things to work together, right? Or we want things to work. We don't have to think about them too much, but at the same time, you're trying to look at that value add. You're trying to still be able to monetize. Okay, they bought the robot. How do we keep them coming back? How do we have that reoccurring revenue? Things like that. So how do you balance like adding software features or subscriptions while at the same time trying hopefully to play nice with other things and make things as kind of out of mind as possible? Like it's kind of a weird thing, especially with like you said, with the robots. Like you don't want to have to think about it. You maybe want to be concerned to go look at it, but if it's going to be proactive and tell you, then how are you getting them to kind of come back to the app, and then you're stuck in there, that your app? Like it's a weird space. It's a really weird space. So kind of what has been your thinking about that? I know some people are like just wary of subscriptions anymore. Where are you at with all this?
So when you uphold a app, or when you maintain an app with almost 1 million users, with millions of connected robots, it's not inexpensive. And we don't bake all of that into the cost of a robot, because ultimately that would increase our prices even more. So what we've done is we've been hyper intentional about what requires compute and what doesn't require compute. A remote control requires very little to update all of your settings and to get real-time notifications on what's happening in the robot. That's very affordable for us, and we bake that in, and that's part of our Whisker app, which I've publicly said, the Whisker app will always be a version of the Whisker app for free. That's how we think about our Whisker app. There's going to be a premium version of the app, which is for things that require compute. When you're talking about video streaming of X number of events per day for a cat, not inexpensive to do that and to store your video footage for you. So that's kind of behind our Whisker Plus subscription. historical data, several years of your cat's data, and the compute required to actually make that smart data, it just requires compute. And so those are the things that we're putting behind a layer. You get, I think it's one week of data for free for all users, and we've had that for a long time. And there's a month for some of the data as well. But the other elements of the data that we're computing and that we're trying to make smarter for you and actionable for you, those are the pieces behind Whisker Plus. That's how we thought about it, was having a version that's free, having a version that's paid. We believe in a world where the litter box data is incredibly important to your cat's health. And what we're now able to understand, and what I am, investing in, is a large team of engineers to understand what's happening. And for me to make that continual investment, it just requires time and money. And so for us, part of that is behind, the subscription service versus some of that being for free. So I can't speak to for every company in our category, but that's how we thought about it, is that we want to make sure that we remain the Whisker app free, and then have some elements that we want to really put a lot of resources behind the paid version.
Okay, makes sense. Last thing here, and I swear, I'm not trying to like elevate Whisker here and the litter robot, but this is a space like I love the idea of like a litter robot. There's so many pet tasks that we have to do every day that it just gets easier to automate them. Like whether it's feeding them, letting your dogs out, cleaning litter boxes, water bowls, all that kind of stuff. Litter boxes seem hard. I have reviewed, or rather, I have gotten multiple to review that were so bad that I just ended up throwing them away. And it is everything from some of the app experiences like didn't work at all, that I couldn't even onboard some of them, and I tried to just you can set it up using the buttons on the device to act like just to at least turn on, and without any further control or customization on timing and everything, and those never worked. Others seem to get jammed up really easily, and I've had minor issues with the new one with like the overweight sensor, with like getting the amount of like litter correct in there. So it just seems in general this is a really, really difficult hardware space. How have you guys kind of fared with this, and why? I do feel like your guys have excelled very well, and so far it's been very reliable. So these are like this is the first one I've actually am reviewing, because it's the only one that has honestly worked. To me, it feels a little bit like robot vacuums. There's a ton of them out there, and I swear if you get one under like $500 or $600, it's going to be garbage. It's not going to do nearly enough to justify its existence. And I kind of feel like that's how it is with this space. If you don't get a fairly expensive one, it is not going to do the job well. So what is it about litter robots that are so insanely difficult? Like, I don't know if it's the motor, if it's the connected, I don't know, but it just seems like very few have really been able to nail this down at all. And yeah, so many people have cats.
So, first of all, thank you for the kind words. And secondly, it is hard. I think not only are you dealing with a device, stepping back, your cat is getting in this machine. So safety is first and foremost where we start. And I think that is something that like I feel really good about, that we are our own manufacturer. So I know everything leaving my facility in Juneau, Wisconsin. I have hundreds of people in that factory focused on doing one thing incredibly well, which is building our products safely, reliably, and having an entire support team too. Should a customer 10 years later need a warranty support, we're there to support them. So I feel really good about that, and we've been doing that for 25 years. We get the basics right, and I'll start with that, which are there are fundamentals to what we do that make us the leader in our category. And the reason why over 2 million people have chosen Litter Robot and Whisker is because that's what we have built a reputation on. Safety, functionality, reliable hardware, electronics, software, firmware, all of it working together in harmony. But at the core, just getting the basics right. It's an automatic litter box that must cycle after your cat leaves the unit. And I think a lot of brands have focused on all of the bells and whistles before they've gotten the basics right. That's what we've done very well. I think form factor, how you design the product, and some of the things that we have, a lot of intellectual property around, and then something that are, call it trade secrets, that we haven't filed IP around, that we just know works really well. And the entire system is why the litter robot is what it is. And then you have cats, which can be finicky. And so, you pair all these things together. Noise, how quiet the litter robot is, super important. How cat litter moves through the machine, super important. The fact that it works with all different types of cat litters as long as they're clumping or silica. All of these little things are things that we think about, and why we have, such a passionate team of product, program, engineers, and all different sorts of folks, and why we have 100 something customer service agents. We're listening to our customers give us feedback, and we're iterating on that. And we're already making positive improvements to even new products on the platform. We've done firmware updates every single month to make sure that we keep making it better. We've been doing this forever. And in Litter Robot's almost 4 years of existence, we've done a firmware and software update on average every month since it came out to improve it. We care about the longevity of your product. There's no end of life built into your product. We have a component library that you can shop for components on your LR2, which discontinued in 2016. You can still buy components of it on our website. So unlike a company that stands for trying to sell you the next device, yes, that'd be great. I want you to buy our next device because you love the design of it, the features of it, or something else, not because your old one doesn't work anymore. We encourage people to treat it like an appliance and buy a component if they need it. So I think for all of those reasons, it's part of why Whisker has built the reputation that it has. And I think we genuinely care. We're a bunch of cat people here that want to make things for ourselves. I have 2 litter robots and a feeder robot in my house. I have an Evo, I have a 5 Pro, and I have our feeder robot. I use the products every day. I use our app every day. I am one of our toughest customers in that I am giving real-time feedback, and I have, pretty much everybody's attention on what I think is important. I'm also a product person at my core.
Okay, last question. Does that mean you get to use your pets as like a tax write-off? Like all of their food, like this is for research. I gotta write off all my litter, my cat food, all of it.
I haven't. I will say that I love my cats, and you can see a photo behind me right now. I have a family portrait of my 2 daughters and my 2 girl cats and girl dog and my wife. And we are a cat family with a dog. I love my dog, but we have become cat people. And I want to build the best for me and other cat people like me. I want to build the best for all cat people out there around the world. And I think that that's really what Whisker continues to remain focused on. And I would add one last thing, which is Whisker builds the best cat products, and we focus on cat. We are really good at cat. And that is a nuanced detail that is so important. We know who we are, and we know what we're good at. And I think that's a big part of why, to your point, you've tried other products that haven't worked. You got to be a cat person, and it's in some of my job descriptions. You can see it. You got to be a cat person in certain roles to truly understand what matters, because you know the nuances of your cat. They're finicky, they're weird, they're awesome. They have so many unique personality traits that you got to get right. And ultimately, they're using their litter box multiple times a day. So if you get some of those things wrong, they can rebel and poop in your couch or leave you welcome presents where you don't want them. And Whisker thinks about all of those elements as it's designing its products.
I agree. I've been quite impressed so far. Like, well, I'll leave everything to my full review of what's been working, and I am very excited for firmware updates down the line. I'm hopeful that there's going to be some even more cool things added. Hopefully, I'm just going to cross
I'll
my
give you
fingers.
I'll give you one spoiler, which is you will see a much more streamlined, faster, more intuitive version of our app. You will see some really cool features around our ability to understand your cats. And you will see some really both in our free and our paid versions. So we are continuing to make great improvements on both. And all of those coming in the months to come. I would say spring and summer will be the biggest transformation of the Whisker app that we've had in a very long time, and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Jacob, thank you so much for hanging out today. Everybody else, you guys know what to do. I've got links for everything, including the litter robots, in the show notes that you guys can check out. You can watch the video version over youtube.com/HomeKitInsider. Please, please, please leave the podcast a review on your podcast player of choice, Apple Podcast, whatever else everybody is listening on out there. Maybe Pandora. I don't know. Maybe there's someone out there who's still using Pandora. It may be at this point. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, Jacob, thank you. Thank you again. And I'll see everybody else next week.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I will be that Pandora plug for years to come.
I'm going to have one review on Pandora. It's going to be Jacob. Thank you again.